what I want to say to you is that our proposal provides specific focus on Kitchener neighborhoods. You've seen it on the slide. It achieves SDC priorities, which we view in many respects, particularly in the context of the neighborhood strategy, are synergistic with those of the City of Kitchener. In light of that, we think that this augments directions of the City of Kitchener neighborhood strategy and leverages our knowledge, which has been built over 40 years in terms of community planning, and thereby is an excellent value for taxpayers' money. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks, gentlemen. Councillor Davey?
Yes, thank you. Actually, before we get into questions, actually, I do recall there being some very specific direction from this council last year. So I look to you, Mr. Chair, perhaps the clerk, to clarify our options in this matter.
Okay. Yeah, because this is asking to reconsider a decision we made. So I want to make sure. The clerk, can you comment on this, please?
Yes, through the chair. A motion to reconsider would be needed to restore any previous funding, as council last year previously voted to eliminate the grant after 2016. And given the current attendance, it would require 7 members to vote in approval because it's 2/3 of members present.
Okay, so I will accept that. I think we're going to need to have a motion for reconsider. I'm not sure if anyone's, okay, Councillor Marsh, you're going to put that up there? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, gentlemen, the motion to reconsider is did not pass. Pardon me?
So we understood that this would be a new application assessed on its merits.
No, this is pardon me? This is tier 1. This is a tier 1. There's a new application for you in tier 1 with, is that how it is?
So our understanding is that this is a new tier 1 application for the 2017 term, and so thereby it would be assessed by this committee and then council on its merits for the 2017 term. So the consequence of that may be that there be a reconsideration, but it's in the context of this proposal, which is a new proposal.
Okay, that's not the understanding of this committee. This committee is considering this as a reconsideration of previous funding.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
No? There's no questions. Okay. Is that what you're going to ask questions?
Yes.
Okay, well, there is no questions.
I have to make a comment about the inequity of the people from the Social Development Council not being able to answer questions. I think it's unfair.
Councillor Fernandez.
I think it's.
Councillor Fernandez.
I'm not going to stop. I think they have taken the time to be here, and it's completely unfair.
Councillor Gazzola.
Yeah. The first point I want to clarify. I look upon this process as part of the budget process, and during the budget process, we are not allowed to make any resolutions or recommendations. So I would gather that's the same rule for this process today. There'll be no recommendations coming out of here.
It's subject to this committee right now. Like if
well, no, this I thought you. I totally disagree with that principle because I've always pushed for making a recommendation so that the public know where we're going and it would be ratified at the final meeting. But this council seems to have adopted that policy, so we have to play with the policy.
The way I see it is that's the reason why we don't do those now, because we have these issues coming up today.
Well, this is all part of the process, so you can't suck and blow. Engineering principle.
All right. Okay.
Are we into comments yet?
Go ahead, make your comments.
Well, no. If there's more questions, I'd rather make comments after everybody else has asked questions.
Councillor Gazzola.
I want to go back to my question of clarification. Are we going to be dealing with motions today? And if we are, I'm not going to partake in it, because the more we talk about this, the more questions that are out there unanswered, and all of a sudden we're dealing with a quick recommendation from a member of council. I don't have problems with it, but we haven't dealt with that. I mean, staff present us with budget papers. They present us with a budget. Today they present us with that section that deals with community grants. Unlike fees where we have to pass them to get them in place in time, we don't have to deal with this. This is all part of the budget process. So there should be no, there are a lot of, I think these are pretty valid questions dealing with this issue that we need to have some time to look at before we jump in to a recommendation today. So we should treat everything the same. Councillor Davey just said the rules are the rules, so let's apply the rules all over. End of story.
Councillor Davey?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I think I can help in this. As per past practice, what we have done is we have made motions here, but in the recommendation, you'll see the first line, I believe it says, any decisions that we make are referred to budget, subject to the final budget day. So in the hopes of speeding up that final budget day, I think what we've done in the past is we've dealt with these issues now and referred them to final budget day, and then so we can change them at that point as well. Doesn't provide a whole lot of security or certainty for the groups, but that has been past practice.
Okay.
Can I respond to
Yes,
that?
please.
Those are exactly the same issues I've always presented with everything that we deal on budget day. If we deal with it during our preliminary review of it, but for some reason, council has found it prudent not to go in that direction. So you can't suck and blow.
Just having been chair of Community Infrastructure Services a few times, I think part of the reason we deal with it today and try to put recommendations on the floor is because the delegations are here, and therefore they don't have to come back on final budget day in case we have any questions. So there's the ability to have that dialogue.
You're going exactly where I was going to go had I had Councillor Marsh not put forward her motion. Can I put forward my motion now on the other item that I was discussing?
What other item are you?
Funding for the Social Development Council out of the CEI unallocated funds.
Okay. Can I ask a question to the clerk, please, or Mr. Wilmer? You want?
Through the chair, just a suggestion procedurally, because we had three delegations speaking on three items, it might be clearer if committee dealt with those three items first, if it wishes to deal with them at all, before you start to deal with the other items. And the clerk could probably confirm, but once there's a motion on the floor, discussion should be focused on that motion.
Makes sense. We'll get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Gazzola?
I really don't have to speak, I guess, now, because I was going to, if that motion was on the table, I wasn't sure it was, I was going to move for a deferral. So it's
Okay.
not there, I don't have to move for a deferral. I will move for a deferral if there are any other motions come forward.
That is Tier 1 funding. You know what Tier 1 funding is? It's ongoing operating costs. And we serve a population that doesn't have any money to pay for our services. So I am asking you to think about reinstating Tier 1 funding. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stein.
So my motion, subject to final budget day, is that 10,000 from the unallocated leftover funds from CEI of 44,000 be moved to Social Development Center to support their ongoing work. So that's a $10,000 grant that I'm asking for. I recognize that once the CEI funds are depleted, there will not be any further ongoing funds, but then we can address the deficit for this social development center in 2017 or 2017.
Okay, so I do have a question to the clerk. Considering we put forward that there is no reconsideration, can you give me a little bit of advice on whether or not this motion is acceptable, or
Through the chair. As this funding currently that would be provided to them will be through a Tier 1 grant, and a motion was just recently defeated on reconsidering providing them with funding through a Tier 1 grant. Therefore, that motion would not be acceptable.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Okay, just a quick comment. One of the hardest things I have to do when I sit in these chairs is listen to people who do wonderful work around our community. Trying to eke out a special interest to help, whether it's a cultural organization or a social organization or other organizations, to squeak out 1% to increase the work that they're doing and to turn some of that down is extremely emotionally challenging for me. And I think that I know that many organizations come forward for Tier 2 grants. Sometimes they come with some very unusual requests, but I think the base funding that we have here for the Tier 1 grants is really important and critical to ongoing diversity within our community. My hope is that next year that we can see our way clear to funding some of the organizations that have been the foundation of this community and have done incredible work over the last number of years.